My name is Ron Spigelman. I am honored to present to you my applied project for MLS 593, April 25th, 2026. I introduce to you the social roles of a conductor, building vision with a social skills toolkit and a leadership blueprint. This is an online 7.5-week, 7-module, 3-credit-hour course designed for graduate students in conducting and musical leadership at either the master's level or doctoral level, that they will either be required to complete as part of their core curriculum or as an elective. It will be an asynchronous online course that will have all the material needed to upload to an institution's learning management platform. It is intended to bridge the significant gap between technical musical mastery and the social realities of the professional podium. Before I begin my presentation of the curriculum, I will start with a true story that served as a basis for why I was inspired to create this course. The students will also hear this story. I want to take you back to 2004. I had just moved to Springfield, Missouri to assume the role of music director of the Springfield Symphony. On my very first day in the office, expecting to discuss repertoire, soloists, and programming, I was met with a reality I had not studied for. A beloved double bassist, a 30-year veteran of the orchestra, had passed away. I'd only met him once. The family requested that I, as the new music director, speak at the funeral. My executive director looked at me and said, "You are our leader now." In that moment, a grieving family and an entire orchestra looked to me not just as a musician, but as a sage. I realized then that while I had earned my position musically, I was fundamentally unprepared for the full responsibilities of leadership. My training had provided a baton and rehearsal technique, ear training, and deep musical understanding, but it had not provided me with any training in leadership, communication, or social skills. This project is my commitment to closing that pedagogical gap so that emerging conductors don't have to wait years through trial and error to be able to acquire the leadership resonance their organizations and communities need from day one. Traditional music education often produces maestros who are technically excellent and musically profound, but socially isolated, not equipped with vision, and not ready to lead. Musical skills must be matched with adaptive leadership and communication skills through emotional intelligence in order for one to become a truly effective, competent, visionary, and resonant leader who can then truly guide live orchestral music to achieve its relevancy and sustainability for future generations. To justify the need for this curriculum, I utilized a 4-pronged research approach to prove that while technical and musical mastery is a baseline, social and leadership competencies are equal drivers of hiring and professional longevity. Firstly, through an anecdotal gap analysis, I interviewed over 25 professional colleagues. A standout finding came from Daniel Hart, CEO of the Buffalo Philharmonic, who confirmed that assistant conductors are often hired not because they were the best musically, but because their superior collaborative skills made them the better choice for the orchestra, the management, and the community. Secondly, I performed a pedagogical audit of elite institutions like Juilliard, Oberlin, and the Cleveland Institute of Music. The results were startling. There is a total absence of leadership or social skill coursework in our most prestigious graduate conducting programs. Thirdly, I conducted a literature synthesis which revealed that for over 20 years, experts have argued that specialized leadership training is vital to the longevity of our profession. Finally, I conducted a professional evaluation analysis, reviewing the widely used conductor evaluation templates and considerations from the Regional Orchestra Players Association and the League of American Orchestras. These templates don't just focus on musical ability and technical skill. They also screen for tact, rapport, and the ability to avoid the maestro trap by separating personal ego from the needs of the orchestra. The evidence is clear. The industry is demanding a social architect and a resonant leader, but the training is still only producing technicians. For the student conductor, studies in leadership, communication, and social skills are not required and not even an option. For the professional conductor, these skills are always required and never optional. They are imperatives. My course attempts to bridge this gap. The goal of the course is not only to introduce the concepts, theories, skills, and methods, but to have students actually learn how to apply them, specifically as conductors and music directors. The 5 learning domains are applied psychology, sociology, communication, organizational leadership, and project management. The content curation from each domain is designed to specifically relate to being a conductor and a music director. So the 3 dual knowledge areas extracted from these domains are emotional intelligence and identity, including self-awareness and self-management coupled with empathy and authenticity. Then leadership and management, such as distributed and servant leadership coupled with leadership styles. And communication and motivation, such as active listening and self-determination. The students will be painting using broad strokes, but with very specific brushes. The creative learning method for this course translates theoretical knowledge into pragmatic legacy building. The conceptual design is intentionally interdisciplinary, drawing on 3 primary scholarly frameworks to create a visionary narrative, a leadership blueprint, and a social skills toolkit. These will be scaffolded assignments that students will build upon in each module, which will become artifacts that they can then interact with and develop after the course is completed. A quick note, artifacts are important to conductors. At the end of each concert, we usually receive a copy of the recording, and we use that to listen back to analyze our performance, the orchestra's performance, and the audience reaction to gauge any areas that can be improved upon. They will, at the end of the course, have tangible strategic maps of the vision they have formulated and the skills that they have learned. And just like with a recording, they will be able to assess the social and leadership skills they need to practice and improve upon going forward. For the first scaffolded assignment, students will exercise their visionary muscle by building a narrative using Erik Erikson's stages of psychosocial development as a framework, repurposed as a conductor's narrative, to hone in on their identity and to build authentic and resonant leadership. They will use a backward design approach, asking them to imagine their legacy at stage 8, designing with the end in mind, and then start at stage 1 to build their identity to stage 6, the stage that many of the students will be in when they take this course. This then takes them beyond their immediate ambitions to train their visionary muscle to discover their purpose. It will also prepare them to fluently participate in their orchestra's long-range planning goals. Secondly, they will repurpose Urie Bronfenbrenner's social ecological model to allow them to create a leadership blueprint across concentric circles. From immediate interaction with musicians and management in the microsystem, through the audience and donors in the mesosystem, the families of musicians and management in the exosystem, all the way to the cultural influences of the macrosystem. Each week they will add the skills and then self-assess their levels of competency to activate the blueprint. Using the Howells staircase model, it will be 1 circle for consciously incompetent, 2 circles for consciously competent, and if unconsciously competent, a mastered skill, they will put 3 circles around it. An example of the map that they will hand draw, this one by me, is on the right. The third framework will be built with my own method to achieve social skill competency called the POPE method. It stands for Preparedness, Organization, Professionalism, and Efficiency. This third scaffolded assignment will be the basis for a strategic map on which to place social skill competencies as they are learned and gained. And throughout the course, they will also fill in the center circle, which represents super competency, as a final reveal. They will use the same circle system from the leadership blueprint to assess their competency levels and will also be challenged to achieve the super competency level so that they can then attach their skills to the center circle. For this assignment and the leadership blueprint, they will upload them to a collaborative whiteboard weekly to interact and collaborate with their peers. The discussions in the course are labeled skill honing for the students to interact in the multiple contexts to turn the analysis into hypothetical application. Several of the scenarios are replicas of situations I have encountered as a music director, turning the hypothetical into typical. As you can see in this example, they are given a scenario and then a prompt that requires them to use 2 communication skills that they learned in the current module and a question regarding their leadership blueprint. Each module begins with a media and literature review of sources that are applicable to the assignments and the discussions. There are nearly 60 sources throughout the course, each one annotated. And as a feature, I have recorded a series of mini lectures called Podium Perspectives. They are by design examples of the podium applications of the frameworks, methods, and theories to demonstrate their relevance in fostering collaboration, motivation, and resonance. All 7 modules are also built as a scaffold from a resonant foundation to a visionary legacy. The design is akin to the concert program that feels like a complete experience, but I make clear with the caveat that it is really a baseline or starting point they will have reached to now begin their daily practice of resonant leadership to accompany their musical practice. The capstone to the course is the final synthesis of the 3 scaffolded assignments: the visionary narrative, the POPE Social-Skills Toolkit, and the leadership blueprint, to form the foundation of a resonant leader who practices supercompetence. My objective is that upon graduation, conductors are armed with a rigorous training in the necessary knowledge and techniques to be an effective and affective podium presence, practitioner, and musical partner, but also an organizational leader adept in navigating delicate and often complex human relationships that require leadership and social skills knowledge and techniques. We are not in the music business. We are in the people business. It's past time to redress this pedagogical gap so that our next generation of conductors are not just musically ready, but are socially attuned, possess clarity of vision, have super competence and leadership resonance, so that our orchestras can thrive and have societal relevance. I humbly submit to you what I believe to be the first of its kind graduate level course for conductors in these vital skills. My central finding is that the modern conductor must evolve from a technical practitioner into a social architect. This shift is essential for any high-stakes profession, from ER physicians and senior law partners to athletic coaches, where leading peers and managing stress is critical. My research confirmed a significant gap. While elite music conservatories produce masterful musicians, they often fail to produce resonant, visionary leaders. Drawing on the field interviews, pedagogical audits, and 3 decades of arts leadership, I have yielded a clear truth. Professional longevity and hiring success are driven by a conductor's ability to be super competent in their social roles, facilitating agency and leading with resonance. The podium is not just for artistic direction. It is a center for organizational health that fosters the art form's longevity. I intend to develop this project into a core curriculum for graduate conducting programs. My plan includes professional audits for continual refinement and forming strategic alliances with orchestral and administrative bodies to make leadership training a pedagogical standard. In a field struggling for relevance, leadership-ready conductors are no longer optional. Furthermore, musicians deserve leadership as professional as their own artistry. Therefore, their input will be central to this evolution. I also plan to offer this as a professional seminar for young conductors and a summer workshop series to ensure these tools are accessible to all. My Master of Liberal Studies degree has allowed me to synthesize social science and humanities, with the fine arts. For me, public scholarship is the act of taking foundational theories like Bronfenbrenner's systems, Erickson's stages, and Goleman's emotional intelligence and repurposing them into practical tools. Theories and findings are messages sent from the past to the future. I don't just want to read the message. I want to answer the call. In short, my goal is to transform theoretical findings into applied solutions. For full disclosure, this project is wholly created, designed, and curated by me, including all the content, materials, and formatting. I did seek assistance at times from Gemini AI for editing purposes and to check spelling, grammar, and structure. I used Notebook LM for slide creation based on the specific design cues I provided based on my script. Each went through multiple revisions. I left the Notebook LM logo on each of the slides to always be disclosive of this. I did not use AI to create any original content. I would like to acknowledge the incredible opportunity it has been to create an interdisciplinary applied project in the Liberal Studies program at Arizona State University. Professor Megan Todd has been an incredible guide and sage in this journey. She defines resonant leadership. Also to you, my peers, your feedback and your projects have so inspired me. I feel as though you are all my teachers, and that as a collective, we can create a positive impact in and for our world. Thank you.